If you have ever experienced fear or self-doubt to the point where you feel like it is causing you to not reach your full potential in life, or if these emotions have caused you to be somewhat paralyzed and you feel like you can't even get started on your goal because they overconsume you so much, this video is definitely for you. Today, we're going to talk about fear and self-doubt and how to overcome these emotions and get control over our lives. Okay, so first I want to talk about the science behind fear and self-doubt because these emotions are actually very natural and they can help protect us from danger. However, when they are excessive, they do become harmful to us because then we don't move on our goals and we don't accomplish the goals that we set out for ourselves. Some of the common fears and self-doubt that a lot of people experience is fear of judgment, especially if you're a single mom. I know you experienced this at some point. Fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, and of course, fear of failure. So let's talk about fear of judgment when it comes to single moms. I know this is huge. This is something that we just subconsciously do because we're always being judged regardless, right? We're just judged because we're a single mom, period. Like, people don't even have to know your story, they have a story for you. So, this is something that we automatically feel. And then when we're wanting to set out certain goals and attain certain things for ourselves, we start dealing with the judgment of what are people going to say, or what is this person going to think, or whatever. And not just single moms, but women in general or people in general have this fear. But I just want to point out the fact that this is something that I know is very prominent in the single mom community. So again, we have the fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, and imposter syndrome, which is huge. Imposter syndrome is something that I definitely have dealt with over the years. And if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, I want to read the definition to you. So the dictionary has the definition of imposter syndrome as the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So let me read that one more time. Imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that your success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of your own abilities or skills. And yeah, this is something I've dealt with heavily. And it's like I could accomplish something and get compliments on it, and people tell me how great it is. And then in the back of my mind, I'll start thinking, like, oh my gosh, they will realize at some point that I'm not as great as they think. And these thoughts will arrive because the gifts and the talents that we have, they're natural to us, right? So when we do things that's just a natural thing that we do, and someone gives you praise for it, you're just like, I don't see it as a big deal. Like, I didn't really have to put effort into it. And so I then start feeling like I'm an imposter. Like, I must be putting on some kind of facade. This is why they think what I'm doing is so great. But I accomplished these things with my own skills and my own abilities. And so, yeah, I need to receive that, go ahead and receive the compliments and whatever it is that I'm getting for this work that I put in, and not start feeling like I'm being a fraud. And imposter syndrome is something that people all over the world deal with, like people in very high positions deal with this as well. So if this is something that you're dealing with, don't feel like you're a weirdo or something is wrong with you, but it is definitely something that you want to work on. So just remember, if you receive an offer to be in a higher position, or if you are being congratulated for something great that you did, baby, accept that and know that you did it with your own skills and your own ability, even if it feels like it just is something that comes natural to you. If you get offered something where you're able to be in a higher position or whatever it is, Accept that and know that you belong there, that you have everything within you for you to be successful in that role. So I just wanted to touch on imposter syndrome really quick because, yo, that really hits home for me. Now let's talk about the consequences of allowing fear and self-doubt to take over. As I said in the beginning of the video, these emotions can cause us to not even live our full potential in our lives, and they can cause us to not achieve goals. You guys, I have a story here. I started my podcast this year in March, but if I can be honest with you, this podcast was something that I talked about doing 2 years ago. Over the past weekend, I was just like looking through my notes and previous goals and things that I had written down for myself. And I realized that it was in July of 2021 that I wrote down that I wanted to have my own podcast. You guys, we are in, I started the podcast in March of 2023. Okay. Why did it take me so long? Because of fear and self-doubt. Do you see how detrimental that can be? It took me that long because I feared what people would say about me sharing my story, how people would react. I doubted myself. I doubted my ability to be able to do this podcast on my own and actually hold anyone's interest with my stories. Like there were so many things that were running through my mind that I just dragged the process out. I honestly did not realize that it had been 2 whole years since I wrote down that I wanted to do a podcast. But here I am now. And guess what? I am so glad that I pulled the trigger and finally decided to do it. I finally decided to not care what anyone had to say. I didn't care about anyone's judgment. I wasn't worried about failure because to me, I'm not going to fail. This is my story. This is what I wanted to do. And so, who better to tell my story than me, right? So, how can I fail at that? So, I'm sharing the story with you guys for one, to let you know that if you are someone that you've written down goals and it's been sitting there for a minute and you have not moved on it, girl, you're not the only one that's done this. But to also show you what it's like to actually pull the trigger and just move forward on it. Guess what? If anyone is judging me, I don't know and I don't care because I'm not looking for that. Like what people think about us and what the negative things that they have to say is none of our business, right? So we need to not get caught up in anyone else but ourselves. Stop getting caught up in who's going to react this way and who's going to think this, and get caught up in what is it going to look like when I actually get started doing this? What is it going to look like when I actually get to accomplish this dream? Okay, so let's talk about some strategies and some tips that you guys can use to help you to overcome fear and self-doubt so you can start moving forward on your goals as well. The first tip that I want to give you is to show yourself some compassion. Learn to be compassionate with yourself. This is also something that I have been working on with myself because, ladies, you know how we are. We are our own worst critic. And y'all, as much as I am someone that loves to empower and encourage other people to go for their own stuff, and I'm so good at being someone else's cheerleader, I am my worst. I am my own worst critic. I am so harsh on myself and almost unforgiving at times, and that's absolutely not okay. So if you're someone that you're very hard on yourself and you feel like you have to get everything right, and if you don't, then you don't even know how to show yourself compassion. You're like beating yourself up and you're just giving yourself negative self-talk. I want you to stop doing that. Like, show yourself compassion. If you are a mom, however you are, however you show up with your kids when they make mistakes or when they want to try something new, and they are learning as they go, you know how you show up and you're so supportive and you're telling them that they can do it. And if they make a mistake, you're letting them know that it's okay. Like, we're just going to try it again until we get it right. I want you to show that same thing to yourself. And if you're not a mom, however you show up for your girlfriends, because girls, we're the biggest cheerleaders for our girlfriends. Like, we are going to cheer our girls on. We're going to let her know that she is the baddest, that she got this. Like, why don't we show up that same way for ourselves? So learn to be compassionate with yourself. Okay, so the next tip is to face your fears. People like to say that I'm so strong, and I'm actually, I don't really think I'm a strong woman, but for me, I'm like, y'all, actually what it is like most of the time I will just move forward even if I'm afraid. So it's just being courageous. Like, just go ahead and face your fear. You can do it afraid. A lot of people want to believe that you have to conquer the fear first and then you move forward. In all actuality, I would say 90% of the things that I've done where I've put myself out there, I was terrified. So I just moved in fear. I just faced my fear. Just do it. Just get going while you're afraid and just take it step by step. Take it step by step. Eventually, that fear will start to subside and you'll start to relax and just start flowing with everything. But just do it while you're afraid. Face your fear. Okay, so let's talk about setting realistic goals. One of my biggest challenges was that I tend to be a now person. So once I say I'm ready to do something, baby, I want it. I want success like right now. I want to be successful like by the time I wake up tomorrow. Okay? I know I just started today, but I want success tomorrow. Or I want it completed by tomorrow. Yeah, I know this is a long process, but I will stay up all night and I want it done by tomorrow. But like, let's be realistic, right? Set realistic goals. Let's take it back to the podcast again. When I decided to, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this podcast, I actually wanted it to be done within a week. I wanted to be set up and going within a week. There's so much work behind this, and I just put so much pressure on myself. So when things were not moving the way I wanted them to, because of course, there's always going to be something, right? There's always going to be some form of hiccup. I was dealing with a lot of technology things behind the scene. And so I just had to just take a second to step back and just give myself grace. Like, so instead of, okay, I want everything done today, or I want everything done within a week, let me focus on this first. First thing is, let's figure out what is going to be the name of this podcast. Okay, we got the name. Let's figure out what is the artwork going to look like. I have the artwork. Okay, so now let's find out how to get this intro done. Like, take it step by step. Set attainable goals instead of just wanting to go from 0 to 100 from start to finish within a short amount of time. That's actually not realistic, and then it's not fair to you because you're putting so much pressure on yourself, and then all that does is feed right back into your fear and your self-doubt. So set attainable goals. Okay, girl, let's talk about that mindset. Um, I need you to reframe these negative thoughts that you're having. Whatever, if you're telling yourself it's not going to happen, it's not going to be successful, you don't know what you're doing, whatever it is that you're telling yourself, I need you to reframe that. And so if you feel like this is not going to work, I need you to reframe it, and I want you to tell yourself why it is going to work. If you're saying that it's not going to be successful, reframe that and list all the reasons why you can see this being successful. So I want you to reframe your thoughts, because our thoughts create our words and our words create our world, right? You know, whatever you're thinking, at some point you're going to let that out of your mouth, and our words are so powerful, and they do create life and death. Like, our words are so powerful. So I want you to reframe your negative thoughts. And finally, I want you guys to focus on seeking support. If you have a great community of friends and family that you know you can like turn to and they can help you with this process, or even just talk to them about the emotions that may be coming up for you, definitely reach out to these people, because they can always give you a different perspective and help you to see things in a different way, in a more positive way. They can also help you to see why, girl, yeah, you need to go forward and do this. And you know what? I'm going to help you with XYZ. So definitely seek out support. Now, if you are someone where your fear and your doubt is coming from a place of some wound, some something that's happened to you in the past that may have caused you to now be stagnant in life and just fear judgment all the time, or fear failure all the time, or you're always having the fear of rejection, then you may want to go a step further and maybe seek out some therapy, someone that can help you to uproot whatever it is that's causing you to continuously go back to that same mindset. So definitely seek out support, however that looks like for you. You know exactly what it is that you need in this time. And girl, go for it. Seek it out. Do whatever you need to do that's going to benefit and honor you and help you to continue to push forward and persevere towards these goals. Okay, so let's go over those steps again. We have compassion, be compassionate with yourself, face your fears, set realistic goals, seek out support, and of course, reframe those negative self thoughts. You guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If any part of this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't already checked out my podcast, Behind the Black Curtain, where I share personal stories about the lows that I've gone through in life, how I was able to persevere and come out victorious in these stories, definitely check out that podcast. I am sharing my story in hopes that it will bless someone else to know, one, that they're not struggling in life on their own. There's somebody else that's going through it too. Two, I'm sharing the lessons that I've learned along the way in hopes that you guys can benefit from it and apply it to your life in however you need to, and also to just be an example of what it looks like to continue to persevere despite what life is bringing you. So that is it for today's video. Until next time, know that I love you guys so much.